Am I the a-hole for telling my mother-in-law to shut the F up? I, 24 female, got married at 18 to my very first boyfriend. We got divorced when I was 19 and it was incredibly messy. He is not someone I want to be around ever again. Then I met my current husband at 20 and we got married after 2 years together. Everything is going wonderfully and we are expecting our first baby in late August/early September. My husband knows about my divorce and never told his family. But when we were dating, his family looked me up and found out. Ever since then, they think I'm a gold digger and a slut. My husband defends me and we're lower contact, but since getting pregnant, we've been in contact with them again. Everything has been smooth except for comments from my mother-in-law every now and then. I had my baby shower this weekend with just my close friends and family. Everything was going well until my mother-in-law brought up my divorce in conversation with my mom, making some sort of comments like, "Aren't you glad your first grandbaby is with my son and not with her ex-husband?" My mother politely laughed and brushed it off until my mother-in-law called me over and out of the blue asked, "So tell me the truth between us ladies. Is that really my son's baby? Or are you just saying it so he'll support you? We all know how you were in the past." Everyone stared at me in disbelief. There was only 6 people there total. I looked at my mother-in-law and told her to shut the heck up and get out of my house. She told me she was just looking out for her grandbaby and I told her she didn't have one and she wasn't welcome in our lives. She left, and my sister-in-law started berating me, calling me a witch, and saying my mother-in-law had every right to question me. And I told her, if anything, I was the opposite of a cheap woman because I have only been in committed relationships. I feel like I'm going crazy. I don't understand why she said that, and I also feel like I let my pregnancy hormones get the better of me. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole, but I sure hope your husband is telling off both mother-in-law and sister-in-law. He is 100% on my side. Always has been. That's really good news, because I foresee a couple of decades of no contact in your future if you don't want these people polluting y'all's child. The audacity of that woman. I know my mother-in-law thought the same thing about me for a few years, and for basically the same reason. Married high school boyfriend and divorced after a year and a half with no kids. But she was decent enough to never tell me to my face. I wouldn't have known if my husband hadn't joked to me about it years later. Not the a-hole, and bizarre. How is a divorced woman automatically cheap? Is this a Jane Austen novel? She's very old school German, so maybe that's a thing in their culture. I have no idea. I actually know a decent number of German people or first-generation German American. None of them are like this. Well, there goes my only defense for her. Not the a-hole. You and your husband need to get in front of this immediately, together, and lay down the law. I'd seriously go no contact with people as ugly as this. That sort of poison has no place around your child, because have no doubt the snide comments won't stop around your child's innocent ears. Let your husband tell her the good news. He can deal with her. Next story. Am I the a-hole for not correcting my kids who told my ex's wife she's not their mother? I have 2 sons ages 10 and 12 with my ex. We broke up over a number of issues, one of which was Emily, a woman he had worked with for years. The 2 of them grew very close, and she was always telling me how my ex deserved better than me, that I was trying to steal his family away from him. A few times she even pretended to be his wife during work functions and my ex would laugh them off. As well as that he was really bad with money and other stuff. After we separated, he made things official with Emily, which came as no surprise to me. Emily was even more openly hostile when she realized my ex's family still liked me and would still include me. Not to mention when she realized my boys weren't super happy that she was their dad's new girlfriend. Emily actually called ex's mom a C-word for saying I was the best mom when they were all having a family dinner. My ex got a firm warning from the judge about using Emily to do exchanges of our boys and to deal with custody issues. This was after her confronting me a number of times during exchanges, in front of my children, and of her showing not just hostility but saying things that could be taken as alienation of a parent. He continued to allow this, and X was fined for breaching the judge's orders. He was told if it happened again, custody would be modified. Recently, there has been an increase in the anger towards me. Emily's unable to have children, and she wanted the boys to consider her a mom. They asked me for help, and I said nope. That Emily was not the mother of my children, and I wasn't going to encourage them to consider her one after the years of verbal mistreatment from her. The boys had an award night back at the start of June at school, and while there, Emily told the boys to get in photos with her for the school newsletter. They said no. She told them she wasn't asking. They said she wasn't their mom, so she couldn't say that. My ex scolded the boys, but I said nothing. Ex and Emily said I should have backed them up and not allowed disrespect. I told them I did not find what they said disrespectful. They have claimed I am an awful parent and I should not let my kids get away with that, and that I am teaching them to disrespect women, etc. So now I am here to find out. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. They stated facts. Also hilarious that they're compliant about not showing disrespect. Does this behavior qualify going back to get the custody modified in your favor? Because honestly, your boy's mental health is going to be continuously harmed by those two a-holes. This does not qualify going back. There was no big meltdown and cussing me out, so the judge wouldn't care. I know that it varies area to area, but what is the age at which the kids can choose whether or not they want to go to their dads? I have a feeling once that age hits, that is a choice they will make. Our court system says 16, 14 in the cases of long-distance parenting. Not the a-hole. Weird how it's disrespecting women when your kids don't want to do something, but it's not disrespecting women when Emily's openly hostile to you. I guess it's different when they do it. They said no. She told them she wasn't asking. I would document that and the entire exchange and bring it to the attention of the courts. Emily sounds terrifying. Not the a-hole. Do everything you can to keep this woman away from your children. It was documented, but this is not an event the courts will care at all about. Her showing not just hostility, but saying things that could be taken as alienation of a parent. He continued to allow this, and X was fined for breaching the judge's orders. He was told if it happened again, custody would be modified. Sure seemed pretty hostile to me, and it was directed at your children. At least keep track of it because it adds to the pattern of her behavior. Would not surprise me if they attempt to punish the kids somehow for this next time your ex has his time with them. Next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for calling the cops on my fiancé's mom? It's a wild situation, but I feel like I need a fair judgment. So I've 27 male, have been dating Regan, 27 female for 2 years, and have been engaged the past 6 months. When we first started dating, I realized that Regan didn't have the closest relationship with her parents, especially her mom. But all her siblings seemed to get along. I didn't really find out why until later. So, Regan's parents are part of the lifestyle, aka swingers. Growing up, this was really rough on Regan. Everybody in her small town knew and people made fun of her relentlessly. She hated it, but at the same time they were her parents. Well, when Regan was a senior, her mom's videos were posted onto a website. Boys in her grade found them, made her life hell. So she immediately went to a college far away, where we first met, and she really hasn't had a relationship with them. We live like 30 minutes from them and see them only at Christmas. Her parents are always reaching out to her, however. And so I've seen as the guy isolating Regan from the family. I come from a traditional family, church on Sunday types. Regan fell in love with this and really attached herself to my mom. They have gotten super close. Regan always talks about her liking my normal parents. So Regan decided to not invite her mom and dad to the wedding. She said she's embarrassed of them and doesn't want people knowing who her mom is. She even asked my dad to walk her down the aisle. Her siblings got angry with us and she decided to cut them off as well and not invite them, which caused Regan's mom to explode. She's called us so many times the last few months and tried showing up at our place. I've had to tell her to leave every single time as Regan didn't want to, which is leading to the image of me isolating Regan. So this weekend, Regan was at a bachelorette party. I was home alone. I hear someone at my door. I see it was Regan's mom and she looked emotional. I spoke through the doorbell and told her Regan wasn't home and that she needed to leave. She kept knocking and saying, I know she's in there, I just want to talk. I said she wasn't home and that she needed to leave. Well, she walked to her car parked on the driveway and made a phone call. At this point, my neighbor texted me and asked if everything was okay as he heard yelling. Regan's mom came back to the door and kept pounding on it, saying she wanted to talk to her daughter. I told her she had 1 minute to leave the property. She didn't, so I called the cops. She was arrested for trespassing. Regan came back and I told her what happened. She was upset at me, but then understood once I showed her my neighbor's text and doorbell footage. Regan's siblings are angry, however, and so is her dad. I can't help but feel like I did go too far. Am I the a-hole? Edit. For people asking, Regan basically ghosted her parents in college. She told her siblings why she didn't want a relationship. They didn't agree with her reasons, and that is why she cut them off too. Her parents should be aware of the reasons through the siblings. Now for the top comments. Not Day Hall. Her parents are certainly free to be swingers, but it was very selfish not to think about how their lifestyle choices impacted their children. Regan is an adult and has made a decision not to have them involved in her life. Her mother was warned, but ignored it. You are free to choose, but choices have consequences. This. Also, I'm sure there is a way to be swingers discreetly that doesn't involve having them in the home where your minor children live. Or, uploading videos with your face uncensored. Aside from Hollywood, what kind of parents even does that? Not Day Hall, but look at it from their perspective. I would think the same thing if my daughter cut me off. Regan needs to explain her feelings clearly to them as to why they aren't welcome in her life. Regan also likely needs therapy. But the daughter had almost no relationship even before she met him. Ignoring that and blaming the guy is a clear indicator that they don't take any responsibility for the estranged relationship. It's a common way people take to dealing with things they can't accept the responsibility for. I can't be wrong. There's no way my darling Regan is doing this herself. It must be that awful boyfriend of hers. She can tell them all she wants until she turns blue in the face, but they won't listen because they don't want to hear it. They'll find any reason not to trust it. That's exactly what happened to me. A narcissistic mother with no concept that she's an awful parent. Accusing the guy that told me you don't actually owe her anything, you don't need to put up with her, of isolating me because there's no chance in hell she could possibly ever have been the issue. 2 kids, 15 years, and still no contact with her later, and she still tries to tell people she's not a problem. My sister has moved away from her since and doesn't let her kid around her either. Not Day Hall. Jesus, your girlfriend has every right to not want to be around her parents. I can't even imagine how awkward and uncomfortable she felt when she was around them. And you have every right to call the cops on her mom. She was trespassing, apparently causing a scene, was warned that the police would be coming, and she still stuck around until the police showed up. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for renovating my house against my parents' wishes? About 6 months ago, I, 27 female, bought my childhood home for my parents. They both were having trouble getting up the stairs and felt they needed to downsize. They wanted to keep the house in the family since they had bought the house from my mother's grandparents. They were going to originally sell to my younger sister since she's the only one that plans to have kids and it is a big house, but she was not in the place to buy it at a time. My parents have spent a lot of money over the years fixing the house to their tastes, and the house is very beautiful. But me and my mother's tastes are very different. Plus, because my father took so long doing each part of the house himself, there are certain parts of the house that look more outdated than the rest. So I've been making plans to renovate most of the rooms. The only part of the house that is remaining the same as it is now is the master bedroom. While I had my parents and sister over for dinner last weekend, I told them about what I'd be changing. They all lost it on me, saying that I was destroying the memories we've made in the house. I disagree, since I have the right to make the house my own, and by their logic, they shouldn't have changed anything after they bought it from my mother's grandparents. They settled down after that, but a couple days ago I found out that my father had called my contractor and tried to fire him, stating that he was the actual owner of the house. When I called my father about it, he told me he would have never sold to me had I mentioned that I would be changing anything. I've since had to go no contact with most of my family because they won't stop calling to yell at me. Not the a-hole. It's your house. It's that simple. Yep, and Opie already gave them the perfect situation as an example. By their logic, they all should still be living in the house as it was when it was designed and built by Opie's great-grandparents. So like what, in the 1940s? As it sounds like Opie's dad had been remodeling the house for the past 30 years, the dad has zero room to be as butthurt as he is. And Opie, any stranger who had bought the house if you or your sister hadn't, would have undoubtedly renovated and remodeled. So many sellers don't understand it's not their house anymore. I can top this. When we bought our present home, I made good friends with a neighbor who was good friends with the former owner's best friend. The previous owners had totally decked out their son's room into something out of a magazine, painting a certain character and their friends on the walls with a matching wallpaper border. We are talking 4 to 6 feet tall characters, full color on all of the walls. Our son wanted something calmer and plain walls. At an MLM get-together that my friend dragged me to, the previous owner's BFF and the rest of the gang was there. The topic of me owning the house came up, and stupid me asked if they thought previous owner would like some of the wallpaper for her son's book, since I would be tearing it down. Their response, "You're redoing the baby's room?" Totally aghast that I would commit such a travesty to a work of art for a long-awaited baby. My friend tried to help, pointing out that my son was a bit too old for that particular character to be the theme of his room. I never did get invited back, but after that, I did not want to go. Not today, ho. What? They expected you to live like it's 1987, 1995, 2002, 2005, 2014, and 2020 forever? Oh my god. I can just see all the renovations in 80s bedroom and master bath. Light fixtures that scream, the colors clashing. It hurts. I once toured a house that hadn't been updated in years. It was in perfect condition, but rooms unchanged since the 1980s or even earlier. One of the bedrooms had 1950s kids cowboy wallpaper like Sheriff Woody from Toy Story. I did not buy the house.